On the rugby field, Ray Gravell was both fearless and feared.
Everyone was frightened of him. There was one eye in him all the time.
Bevan to Gravell.
But Grav was more than a sporting hero. Off the field, he enjoyed an acting and broadcasting career that made him one of the best-loved figures in Wales.
His real strength was his passion.
Above all his achievements, it was the character of the man that made Ray Gravell a true Welsh great. Raymond William Gravell came into the world in 1951. He was born in Kidwelly, 9 miles from Llanelli, and grew up in the nearby village of Mynydd y Garreg. Ray's father, Jack, was a collier who'd once played rugby for Pontyberem.
He was the man. He introduced me to rugby football, and he took me to Straddy Park. I was about 5 or 6 years of age. I was a little boy with my hero. He was with his friends, coal miners. They were relaxing, watching their heroes, and their heroes then became my heroes. And I fell in love, head over heels, with Straddy Park, Llanelli Rugby Football Club.
Jack loved the outdoors, and he and Ray would spend hours roaming the hillside above Mynydd y Garreg.
They went hunting together. Jack enjoyed his hunting. And Graz was a good shot, fair play to him. They adored each other, you know. You could see the bond between the two boys, you know, Jack and his boy.
In 1965, Ray started at Carmarthen Grammar School. He was already showing early promise on the rugby field.
There was a reputation of this outstanding scrum half coming to school from the Llanelli area, and so we were all looking forward to it. And of course he turned up, but he was a scrawny little kid with bones jutting out everywhere, you know, elbows, knees and everything, but he was rugged, he was fast. He was known as one of the boys from the mountain, boys of Mynydd y Garreg. He was definitely mountain material.
Ray was soon playing alongside his close friend Roy at school, district and county level.
He wanted reassurance. I remember every Monday morning after we played on the Saturday, he used to come up to me. Played all right on Saturday, didn't I? Passes not too high, not too low. Great. Was it okay? I did okay, didn't I? And this was like clockwork all the time. And it stayed with him for the rest of his life.
Ray's time at school was overshadowed by trouble at home. His father Jack had suffered an industrial accident which left him in chronic and excruciating pain. When he was 14, Ray returned home from a rugby match one day to discover that Jack wasn't there.
Cofio dod nôl y prynawn ni, a gofyn i mam le oedd dad. A dwi'n dweud, mae ddim mas yn wac ar lle dda, mae ddim mas yn wac ar ddill. Ond pan dath i'n 10 o'r gloch, yn dywyll, mam yn amlwg yn gofidio, a o'n i hefyd gofidio dipyn. A penderfynu bod rhaid ni mynd i wylio, oherwydd oedd y ci ddim mynd i dychwelyd. A o'n i'n arwen, a ffes rhywbeth yn dynnu i'r ardal ma, i'r lle arbennig ma, jyst tu ôl i chi fyna. Cofio cerdded, a am ryw reswm yn gwybod byddwn ni'n mynd i ffindo fe. Gyrraeddes i'r man o'r lle, a o'n i'n cofio, oedd Mac y ci oedd e'n 10 o gwmpas, a mynd a'i gyffwrdd e, a gwybod ar ôl y cyffyrddiad bod e'n farw. A peth cyntaf drwydd o'n feddwl i, a o'n i'n gallu ddweud y gwir, oherwydd oedd ofn yn rhaid ddweud wrth yn fam.
Ray's father had shot himself.
Sad times when he lost his father. Yeah, affected him big time. He grew up quick then. He had to.
Ray became overnight the breadwinner, so that's why he had to leave school earlier and couldn't couldn't carry on his studies.
In 1969, Ray left school to take a job with the Electricity Board. At the same time, he started playing for Llanelli Rugby Club's youth team. He was growing up in many ways. It was Prince Charles's investiture year, and Ray was one of many young Welsh people who experienced a political awakening spurred on by protest songs such as David Iwan's Carlo.
Sa gan na, ar geiriau, rhyw effaith ofnadw os oes yna'r gair iawn, arna I, a nath hynny fi'n ymwybodol o feddwl, wel, pa haws dar, a pob parch i'r Charles, ond pa haws dar Sais ma I alwyn yn dywysog ar o'n I fel a hefyd ar Gymru.
Rugby was Ray's first love, and a year later he was given the chance to fulfil a childhood dream and take to the field as a member of the Llanelli first team.
1 point here, boys. Once that scrum is going forward...
The Scarlets' coach was Welsh rugby visionary Carwyn James.
So once you see that the drive is on, then you can step back, ready to pounce.
Ray was passionate for Wales and the Welsh language, and so was Carwyn. So they had this Welsh bond.
Carwyn was everything to him, you know. His father, I suppose, you know. And he used to call him Raymond. You know, Raymond, concentrate, calm him down. And he was a huge influence on Ray. And to all of us, I suppose, but especially to Ray. And he, Carwyn, knew how to handle Ray and to get the best out of Ray, to control that aggression. That's why he became a great player.
You want a fluid sort of game?
Ray's aggression could barely be contained in the tense pre-match atmosphere of the dressing room.
It meant so much to him. I've seen him in the dressing room, crying before games, emotional before games, being sick before games, driving us all mad before games with those David Iwan songs belting out there.
And he'd go to the toilet and he'd be singing in the toilet, and then all of a sudden he'd be screaming out loud and bang the door, scream out loud.
And really, it was a release for Ray, I think. He was so nervous before the game, but yet, when he went on that field...
Thomas Gravell. Hill, but the neat cover is closing in.
Ray played as a centre, a position that demands a combination of deft handling and brute force.
Gravell. Bernard Thomas.
He had all the skills, he had everything really that a centre would want. He was big, fast, strong, the outside swerve. No one could handle him, you know, just pop the ball up to him, you go straight down the middle, he'd take 3 or 4 tacklers, he brought in all the defenders, and then we were away.
Ray may have looked confident on the field, but he was plagued by insecurities, which team physiotherapist Bert Peel did his best to treat.
Bert used to give him either a junior aspirin or a Smartie and saying, that'll do you good, Ray. Didn't tell Ray what it was, but after the game, Ray played well. Oh, Bert, those were marvellous. Oh, can I have another one next week?
The biggest challenge of Ray's early career at Stradey Park came on the 31st of October, 1972. New Zealand were on tour in Britain. Having thrashed England's western counties, the All Blacks descended on Llanelli to take on the Scarlets. For Ray, the match evoked memories of a game he'd witnessed a decade earlier.
I remember going to watch Llanelli play against the All Blacks, Wilson Winnery's All Black team, in 1963 with my father. And now, all those years on, I was in the Llanelli side, playing against the mighty All Blacks, the mightiest rugby nation still are in the whole world. I was so nervous, I was crying inwardly, outwardly as well. The tears were beginning to show on my face.
Grav was a young boy, I think. He was only about 20 years of age, you know, and I could see that he was getting emotional.
And Delby Thomas, the captain, who I'm proud to say is my friend, and my hero became my friend, my very lucky man. He said in Welsh, with his arm on my shoulder, Grav, bydd popeth yn iawn. Grav, everything will be right. And it was.
The crossbar! Overthrown!
The feeling was one of disbelief.
History has been made at Shrewsbury Park.
Euphoric to the point of bursting and panic. The panic being, I could see no way off the field.
There's Jeremy Thomas, the happy captain of Llanelli.
By the time he was 23, Ray's performances for the Scarlets had brought him to the attention of the Welsh rugby selectors.
This enormously powerful man.
They invited him to a trial for a place in the national team. Driving home after this trial match, Ray heard on the radio that he'd been picked to play for Wales. He almost crashed his car. Ray would represent Wales for the first time on the 18th of January 1975 in the opening game of the Five Nations Championship.
In those days we used to go to France on the Friday morning, so we trained on Thursday, went to the cinema, came back, relaxed, went to bed, and then about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, massive kerfuffle in the room. I wake up and he's all packed with his bright Gola bag zipped up and his big overcoat on. He said, "Oh, I can't take it, I'm not cut out for this, I'm not up to this international, I'm going home, I'm going back to Mum." And if I'd said to him, well, close the door on the way out, Grav, we'd never ever heard of Ray Gravell. His career would have been over before it had started. But luckily for him, and for the rest of us, I suppose, I said, get back in bed, and he did, and the rest was history.
Before the match, the atmosphere at the Parc des Princes was riotous. But for once, Ray felt calm.
A mae'r llynyddoch hyn yn dod drosto'i. A fe deimles I, a rwy'n sicr, rwy'n argyhoeddiedig o'r ffaith ma. Fe deimle, oedd e yno, oedd e na. Ddim yn gorfforol, ddim yn weledol, ond oedd e na. Fe deimles I presenoldeb yn han, oherwydd I freuddwyd o bod I fab yn wared dros Gymru.
Bobelli, Edwards, in fact, gathering it. Bevan to Gravell. Gravell trying to run outside.
His real strength was his passion. He was passionate for Welsh culture, and he took that onto the field with him. You know, he was going into battle. He was fighting. He was taking the pride of Wales. He was taking the pride of his village.
That day, Ray helped Wales beat France by 25 points to 10.
He was outstanding in his first cap, played a major part in that game. We did a lot of tackling in that game, we defended for long periods, as you always are in France, and Gravell was the mainstay, and of course his career blossomed and blossomed. He became one of the great centres of Welsh rugby all the time.
Ray would play for Wales 23 times over the next 7 years. This was a golden age for Welsh rugby, and Ray was a key part of a legendary national team. His talent for highly physical play made him a real asset.
Bennett's getting a lovely service now.
He was a big man, fearless, resilient, unafraid. And yet, down on the field, I'd be next to him on the wing, and he'd turn to me and say, "How am I doing? Sut fi'n neud? Dwi'n okay? Come on, Ray, you'll do it." The trouble is, he said, "I've got this little bit of a cough. I think I'm going to have some flu later on," he said.
In 1980, Ray was selected as one of the best rugby players in the entire British Isles. He was invited to tour South Africa as a member of the British and Irish Lions.
My first memory of him was him pulling me aside and saying to me that he was actually very shy, both with men and with women. And he had heard that I was very shy as well, and that he thought that the two of us should stick together. So I have to say that I didn't see one single semblance of evidence of any shyness of Ray Gravell in the next 3 months in South Africa.
When Ray pulled on the red jersey this time, it was as a member of the Lions.
Gravell. Bouncing off of Milan.
Woodward now Gravell, trying to thunder his way through the middle. Finds a Driscoll in support.
But Grav played his part, not just on the field, but off it. And, when bus trips where you're spending an hour or two in a bus, he would always start the singing. And used to play a tape. David, was it?
He took my cassettes with him and played them to everyone. And everybody in the team had to listen to David Iwan songs until they were bored stiff, probably. Some of them still hate me to this day.
Crash ball to Ray Gravell. Gravell has Woodward outside. Woodward, can he find Carlton? Carlton now, held by Hermes.
By the mid-80s, Ray had been playing top-level rugby for 15 years. He knew that the end of his career as a player was in sight. But Ray had found a new vocation as a rugby commentator.
1985, I'd broken my arm, and the then head of sport here at the BBC, Anthony Brace, former captain of Wales, phoned me up and he said, Ray, the BBC, we're offering you a 2-year contract. Take your time about making a decision, but phone me back in 10 minutes, which I did. And I said, Anthony, I thought long and hard about this. Actually, there's only one thing, I need 15 more games to play 500 games for Llanelli. And Anthony came back with the riposte, well, Ray, you must realise that Llanelli RFC will not pay your mortgage.
One of Ray's first jobs as a commentator had been for the newly created S04C, covering the Wales-England International in 1983. But it had not been a great start.
And we were within about half an hour, 20 minutes of the start of the game. Ray still hadn't got there. Onllwyn had now lost all patience and he was going to sack him before he started. And Onllwyn pressing the buttons on the little monitor we had, all of a sudden, up popped Ray Gravell on grandstand for the afternoon. His old friend Billy Beaumont from the Lions in 1980 was there in the grandstand studio. Ray had gone up, knocked the window. Bill had asked him in. Next thing, Ray was sitting next to Bill in the grandstand studio and talking about the forthcoming game. When he got to the commentary point, Onllwyn just wiped the floor with him and said, Ray, you'll never work again for us because of the indiscipline. And he just turned and said, Onkers, Onkers, he said, I've just announced to the world that we started today in S04C.
Ray's infectious enthusiasm made him a natural live broadcaster. Alongside his sports commentating, he developed a career as a radio presenter for both Radio Cymru and Radio Wales.
I dreamt I was in a little pub called the Plume and Feathers in Carmarthen, and Robert De Niro was at the bar. And Robert De Niro knew everybody in the pub. Not many people there, small pub. And he totally ignored me.
There was one facet of Ray's broadcasting career that came as a surprise to many. Back in 1975, he'd been invited to play himself in an episode of the soap opera Pobl y Cwm. It was then that Ray had caught the acting bug.
About the job, sir.
During the 1980s, he appeared in several dramas on Welsh television.
I'm a princess.
You've always had this hankering and leaning to be an actor, haven't you?
I suppose all sportsmen, to a certain degree, are performers. They are performers, so therefore they would come under the heading of actors, I think.
Yeah.
Be it very amateur actors, some of them.
Yes.
In 1991, Ray was cast in a major part in the network drama Filipina Dreamgirls as a bachelor looking for love in the Far East.
Elena! Boys, I've got me a pickpocket!
And a year later, he appeared opposite a legend of the screen in the period drama Rebecca's Daughters.
Peter O'Toole turned up and he said, You're not Ray Gravell, are you? And Grav said, well, yes, actually I am. And this Lawrence of Arabia just stood up, pushed Marine out the way, went straight up to Grav, picked him up and said, you wait till I go back to London and say I'm making a film with the great legend Ray Gravell.
This was a happy period for Ray, both professionally and personally. On the 2nd of August 1991, he married his long-term girlfriend, Mary Roberts. His wedding present to her was a 10-year membership of Llanelli Rugby Club. In 1995, at the age of 44, Ray became a father. He described the births of his daughters, Manon and Gwenan, as the greatest experiences of his life. In his words, "When I was playing for Wales, that was a game. This is life." One of Ray's proudest public moments came 2 years later when the Gorsedd of the National Eisteddfod invited him to take the key role of ceremonial sword bearer.
He was definitely a romanticist, and why not? He loved that particular role. He loved seeing himself as a Wenglindur. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And I think the same is true of his relationship with Gorsedd the Beir. Not only did he take to this office of sword bearer, I'm quite convinced that he would have loved, if at all possible, to be Archdruid. As he used to ask his rugby mates, how did I do? Was I okay? And so on. We had that as well. Mind you, I can't remember him having thrown up once. I don't think he honked once.
Ray loved the ceremony and symbolism of the Eisteddfod and had a passion for Welsh history.
Well, my name is Owain. I'm Owain Glyndŵr.
He was more than happy to pull on the costume of Owain Glyndŵr, as he did for a medieval reenactment at Coity Castle.
Owain Glyndŵr, my hero, the hero of many a Welsh person, and myself in particular. I feel I'm from that era, from that time, although I don't think I survive there now. But if I were, I would most certainly have been one of Owain's men. I'd have been with him, and to the death, I think.
For Ray, the battleground of national destiny had always been the rugby field. And in 2005, he was reporting at the Millennium Stadium when Wales won their first Grand Slam in 27 years.
Michael, enjoy the moment, and thanks for adding to the rich history of Welsh rugby. Thank you very much. Diolch yn fawr iawn. Thanks, Ray. Diolch.
But Ray was now facing problems with his health. In the year 2000, he'd been diagnosed with diabetes. In 2007, he was admitted to Glangwili Hospital with a diabetes-related infection.
I went up to see him several times in hospital, and he, first of all, lost one toe through his diabetes, and then his 2, then 3. Eventually, the infection became life-threatening.
When the surgeon saw the state that the foot was in, he said, right, you have to go to theatre now. And I reacted by saying, well, I could go home first. And I said, no, you're going to theatre now. I might have to take the leg off. And that was a very sobering statement. And I felt frightened, quite naturally, anyone would.
In order to save his life, Ray had to lose his leg. Despite his natural good humour, the weeks following the operation were a difficult time for him.
The immediate future seemed very dark and very gloomy. I'm glad to say things have brightened up immensely since then.
As part of his recovery programme, Ray visited Morriston Hospital to have a cast made for a new prosthetic leg.
After that, then obviously you can decide whether you want a cosmetic cover on over it to look so it looks like your other side, which the majority of people in Britain do, or you can leave it bare.
This may sound silly to you.
Yeah.
I'd love to have the Scarlet. I'm the president of the Scarlets. I'd love to have the Scarlets emblem, if possible. If possible, on the finished product.
Yeah. We've already done the Ospreys one, so on the various football sides, the patients are chosen.
You've done an Ospreys one?
Yeah.
That's it. Peter, I'll pay you to do me a Scarlets when I have to.
Ray got a chance to show the nation he was back on his feet when he appeared as a guest on Max Boyce's show.
Myself being the president of the Scarlets, I'm a proud Scarlet man myself.
On the show, Ray caught up with an old friend and co-presenter.
And it was in the middle of Ray's show, so we do a little handover in the middle of it. And so one day, well, he said, Ray, now, we're going to a handover now. Oh, crikey, true. A lovely, oh, he's a lovely man. A lovely man. Rob, Brighton, Rob, are you there? And because I'd been in a different studio, and I said, hi, Ray, and I made the mistake of asking this man. I thought it was just a turn of phrase. I said, hi, Ray, how's it hanging? And, of course, he told me.
Yeah. Well, actually, I said, Rob, because in West Wales, where I'm from, Mynyddig, how's it hanging? There's a total different meaning to what you had in mind. And I said, well, Rob, mine actually to the left. I just to the left. And, ladies and gentlemen, Ray Gravell.
A few months after his operation, Ray's friends organised a tribute dinner in his honour at the Stradey Park Hotel.
It was a triumphant night. He appeared to have overcome the worst. He'd been through hell, and there he was, on his new leg, with his family, his beloved girls, the centre of attention. He kept saying, I don't deserve this. It's too much, you know. It was a fantastic night.
A few months later, Ray took a holiday in Spain with his family. On the 31st of October 2007, Ray suffered a heart attack.
Wales has lost one of its favourite sons. Welsh sport has lost an icon. Welsh rugby has lost a legend. On Wednesday night, exactly 35 years to the day that Llanelli beat the All Blacks here at Stradey Park, the great Ray Gravell passed away.
On the 15th of November 2007, Ray's funeral procession set off from his home in Mynyddig. Ray had wanted his funeral service held on the field where he'd started his rugby career. The event was broadcast live on 3 television channels. 10,000 mourners streamed into Stradey Park to pay their last respects to Ray Gravell.
I fancy Ray's greatness lies not necessarily in the many talents he enjoyed. It was, above all, his humanity. Today is a remarkable testimony to the enormity of this Welshman's benevolent heart.